Hello, everyone, and welcome to the penultimate scenario in my Memoir 44 Bagration series, a series of campaign games on Operation Bagration or Bagration. As I said, we've reached the penultimate one, which is the race for the Vistula, Warsaw in sight, within sight. The Soviets win a sudden death victory if they control Puławy, Magnushev and Wołomin. Not Warsaw, because they didn't really want to take it. They couldn't take it. There's an ongoing debate on that as far as historians are concerned, and views in the West seem to be somewhat different from views in the East. Also, there's an uprising going on here and everything, because this is around the 1st of August when the Polish uprising occurred in 1944. You can see lots of weakened German units here, the supply trucks and the half-tracks. They don't have the resupply ability in this scenario. They're basically weak units, such as the half-tracks, only two figures. They fire at 2-1, and into terrain that usually means that they don't fire at all. That's a standard rule, by the way, but they're simply not very effective combat units. Not to mention the supply trucks, apart from the resupply ability, which they don't have. They're actually extremely weak because they don't have any firepower whatsoever, and they symbolize German troops on the run, basically, and with the Soviets hot on their trail. You can see that the Soviets have suffered some casualties too in this scenario. They were really on their last legs, basically, also suffering from supply problems. Huge losses, obviously, so many of the Soviet units also start reduced here. Well, not that many, but a number of them certainly do. And I've just said what that signifies. The Germans start, as is quite customary in this series of battles, start with 12 last to occupy medals in their control. As I said, you can see all the Russian objective medals which they can take. And obviously, the more objective medals you actually take, the better it's going to be in a campaign. And again, if the Russians should ever control Puławy, Magnushev, and Wołomin at the same time, that's a sudden death win, and they actually get to control all objective medals. So that is something that the Germans definitely want to prevent. What such a win signifies in this particular scenario is that Warsaw, which was the original plan, is actually going to be surrounded. And in the end, that didn't work out. One very special thing about this scenario is that should that sudden death occur, scenario 6 is not going to be played. So another reason why the Germans really want to prevent that, because scenario 6 is actually the German counterattack near Warsaw, near Wołomin, and I forgot the name of the other place, something with an R. I'll look it up. Actually, a pretty major tank battle occurred there, which is relatively ill-known, probably because of the uprising going on and the Falaise pocket in Normandy, which was also around the same time. And obviously the wider Battle of Normandy going on in the West are much better known, but that was actually a pretty big tank battle, and it actually signaled the end of Operation Bagration, because the Russians decided they needed to catch their breath and regain strength, etc., after that loss. So in the final scenario, the Germans are actually going to have the upper hand. That's the idea. So they really do not want to suffer a sudden death scenario here for multiple reasons, as I've just explained, but also because they should be able to win that last scenario and to catch up a little bit, as they'll probably be a little bit behind, especially in this southern branch of the campaign. Anything else? Both the Germans and the Russians can score exit medals, exiting between these two exit markers. The river is impassable here, so no collapsible boats and rafts in this scenario, so you really have to go through these river crossing hexes to pull that off. The Germans, if they actually manage then that signifies German units successfully escaping. The ones with the battle star, so basically all the ones over here, cannot do that. That would be a bit too easy, of course. So those are rearguard units and reinforcements, so they cannot do that. So exit 4 points. The Russians, as is the case in all scenarios in this campaign, partisans cannot do that. But other than that, these units could, and that way they could also score a victory medal. But of course, it's the objective medals that really count in the end in a campaign, or, well, I wouldn't say that really count, but can really make a difference. The campaign certainly has been designed with that in mind. And also a sudden death, of course, which is something the Russians can try to pull off. It should be difficult, as it is in most of the other scenarios so far, but not impossible. Yeah, so I think that's about it. Anything else that I should mention at this point? The Russians start with 6 cards, the Germans 4. For now, I'll go with 18 medals. Again, the Germans starting with 6, but all of that might still change. Most of the other rules, such as blitz rules, but then revised so that the Russians actually benefit from them. Air superiority rules, also for the Russians. Pontoon bridges, etc. Well, those are actually not in effect. I should cross that out, I see. I wrote that down, but those are actually not in effect. Yeah, so that really is mostly it. The difference between reduced units and depleted units is that the opponent does score medals for them, so that's why it's important to keep that in mind. And I simply use upside down minefield markers to remind me of the strength of those units, which is important in case you play a medics and mechanics card and you can never upgrade a unit beyond its initial strength. Yeah, so that's really mostly it. So I hope you've enjoyed. I'll do some more playtesting, and thank you for watching.